So what is the best thing about living in the Philippines? Well, there's quite a few things that we have to consider, right? We've got the low cost of living, the very attractive local population. We've got the warmth and general kindness and friendliness of the people who live here. We've got the beautiful oceans. We've got the ability to have a pretty modernized infrastructure as it's getting better and better, I think, in my opinion, year after year. I mean, BGC is a very nice area in Metro Manila. Ortigas is a very nice area in Metro Manila. The Makati CBD or Central Business District is pretty modernized, and they have quite a few great restaurants. And I love a lot about the Philippines is that I can actually stay here year round, 12 months out of the year, and not have to pay any income taxes, which is really nice, on any of my sources of income that are originating outside of the country of the Philippines. I talked in a previous video where I actually partnered with some local real estate agents to promote some really incredible real estate deals, and I actually was able to help get some sales. So I had to actually study the taxation systems here, which is pretty cool. So if you want to learn about business, income taxes, etc., making money as an expat here living in the Philippines, check out this video right here or right here, wherever it is. I link the card. But yeah, my experience living in the Philippines has been pretty pleasant for the most part. There is definitely a learning curve when you get here, and as I also recently talked about in a video that I just uploaded, was the importance of having a local bank account, and if you can find a purpose to get the bank account. So a good purpose for getting a bank account is needing to pay a landlord in order to rent an apartment for 6 to 12 months. That's a great purpose, and sometimes they might actually be able to allow you to make an exception in certain cases to be able to get a bank account for that reason. Generally, there's a 180-day rule where you have to live here, and I just want to give you this bit of advice because the quality of your life is very, very high when you have a local bank account in the Philippines. And if you want to know why that is, check out that video. I'll link that in the card as well. I think the best thing about living in the Philippines is the sense of adventure and freedom and mobility and general kindness that you feel when living here. When you're traveling throughout the different islands and throughout the different provincial areas, you basically are exposed to just like beautiful oceans, beautiful islands, beautiful people, interesting cuisine. For those of you who enjoy eating certain types of like pork, the pork sisig is really good, the chicken sisig is really good, the chicken adobo is really good. I've tried quite a few dishes here, and my girlfriend happens to have went to college for hotel and restaurant management, and she had some culinary experience as well. She's obviously very good in the kitchen. So I've tried a lot of classic Filipino dishes, and I enjoy most foods in most cultures, and Philippines is no exception. I really like the food here too. I think it's worth mentioning that the weather is really good here for the most part. These islands are at risk a little bit from, not a little bit, but from typhoons. Earthquakes are a potential issue, and volcanic eruptions are a potential issue. But if you look over the long course of the last 100 years of history, these events don't happen that often, and where they do happen is interesting. So you could go and study that. I personally don't feel threatened or at risk, or I don't feel really less safe knowing these things, just because I've taken some time to study the facts about it. And I've thought to myself, in terms of probabilities, what's the chances that this is actually ever going to affect me living here based off of where I live in the capital city region right now of Manila? I think the chances are very low. I mean, one of the best parts about also just living in the Philippines is how widely spoken English also is. English is also spoken in some other countries in the surrounding areas, like Malaysia, for example, a little bit in Thailand, but not nearly as much. But the thing is English is taught in the high schools here for the most part in the Philippines. So you can have a relatively fluent to high level, more sophisticated level of conversation in English with some of the locals, and of course, folks who work in the hospitality career sector or real estate, or based off of whatever the career happens to be. They might be more or less sophisticated in the English language, but it's really nice being able to know that if you need help with like medical services or transportation services, that you basically are able to not have to have general knowledge or language of the local dialect of Tagalog or Visayan or anything like that. So that's also really nice. As far as business opportunities go in the Philippines, I think there are probably a lot of business opportunities. I think that one of the best business opportunities, in my personal opinion, is actually in the real estate sector for Airbnbs and rentals for foreigners and expats coming from the Western world or from other wealthy countries like South Korea, Japan, New Zealand, Australia, also in Europe. And there is a lot of individuals that like to vacation in the Philippines, and also some that are looking to retire in the Philippines. And while these foreigners who are older and are richer, they have money, they've accumulated wealth over their lifetimes, are trying to figure out where their permanent residence is going to be in Manila, or not necessarily in Manila, but in Philippines, while they're traveling through or making a pit stop in Manila. There's a lot of places you could potentially consider buying, and it's not hard to have a competitive advantage in the real estate industry here if you're doing rentals, or if you're doing a lot of different industries. If you're a foreigner coming in here, and I've actually seen a lot of men from Germany actually also, and like Denmark and other places kind of sprinkled throughout the European continent that I've talked to actually, that actually live in the same building as me. And I've asked them like what they do and stuff like that. Some do like crypto, and some have online remote jobs, and some have businesses. And it's interesting because many people come here to start businesses. And I think that if you are coming with a mentality of like competitiveness, you'll do really well in the Philippines, because it's not that people here are not competitive, it's just that they're born in a more relaxed environment. I think Philippines is more relaxed, it's more kind of casual and easygoing, and the kind of general mentality sort of is like, you know, make sure things are working, but not necessarily working as good as they possibly could work. And that will bring me to my next topic, like so I talked about some of the best parts about the Philippines, and now we can kind of pivot and say, what are some of the things in the Philippines that could use improvement? So one of the biggest things in the Philippines that could use improvement is just finding ways to increase the efficiency of certain things. And that's not an easy problem to solve, and I totally understand that. I'm doing is just doing the easy part, which is explaining what would be awesome to improve. But yeah, making things more efficient would be fantastic. And when I say more efficient, I mean like if you want to like go get your driver's license renewed or something, like generally it can take like up to 6 hours to go to the registration office, for example, to like fill out the paperwork, because not everything is online yet for certain procedures like that. Also, like if you're living in Manila and if you're not in a place like BGC where everything's walkable and you want to go out and get dinner in Makati Central Business District or something, you might get stuck on EDSA for like an hour, going literally like 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers is like a half a mile to a mile. You know, you might be stuck in your cab or your Grab for like 45 minutes to an hour. So finding like strategic ways where we could speed up the flow of traffic if we could. And I don't know the level of difficulty to be able to achieve something like that. It's probably a pretty high level of difficulty, which is why it's not done. So what are some of my favorite parts about living in the Philippines, specifically as an American man who is originally from New York/Arizona? My favorite parts are the just generally attractive and friendly and kind local population. I do enjoy the food. I love the food also when I made a pit stop in Thailand before. The food in Thailand was amazing. But I do enjoy the food here. I do love the feeling of like being in Philippines makes me feel like my life's more adventurous. I have the options to go travel to different islands like Boracay or El Nido or Palawan, or I can go all the way south, all the way down to Davao, or I can go kind of in the midway down to Cebu. I mean, there are so many options, and that to me is exciting and it's fun. And it is a place that I would definitely consider like investing in and turning into like a permanent residence or a permanent base. I do know that in the future, like as I am currently situated right now in the Philippines, it is currently like my main place of stay. It is like currently my main residence, and I literally took the time to really customize this condo that I'm renting right now. And I imported a lot of things also from the United States, which is cool, to make it feel like it is like almost like a cookie cutter carbon copy of my condo that I had in Arizona. So it's very similar to that in a way. There's some differences, of course. But yeah, if you are a foreigner considering retiring in the Philippines, or you just want to come here on vacation, or you just want to perhaps maybe you're in a love relationship with a woman, then yeah, there's a lot of things about this country and about the population that are very attractive. There is a learning curve. There is not necessarily what I call, a lot of people say like culture shock or whatnot. I never really experienced culture shock. I consider it a learning curve. It's a different vibe. It's funny because things are very fast paced in Manila, but also slow and efficient in other ways. Like in Manila, it can be fast paced in the sense that like there's people working their butts off, like literally, like just you can see with the traffic, people trying to get to and from where they're going, people in the transportation sector doing deliveries and stuff like that, and everyone working in the malls and the shops, and people on the street selling food. People work very hard here to survive financially and to get ahead financially. And but that being said, I would love it if we could find ways to make certain things more efficient whilst living in the Philippines. Like, so say for example, you want to rent a condo. I'll just leave that with you. One more example, like the amount of requirements that should be required to rent a condo here, for example, for a local or a foreigner, there's probably like 12 requirements, and they're not too hard to meet. But if you really ask me, I think probably 4 to 6 of those requirements are actually truly essential or necessary. And the other like 6 requirements are kind of like don't need to be there, if you ask me, or it could be easily subjugated or like sidestepped. They're just not necessary. So when I say make things more efficient, it's like we ask ourselves, what is essential about this process? And then we kind of cut out the fat. We cut out the stuff that's unnecessary and it's not really like we think is giving us a benefit, but it's not actually giving us a benefit. And that's how taking an essentialist mindset of like, what's the essence of what we're trying to do here? Like if we're, to get from point A to point B, to like get groceries or rent a condo or open a bank account. Requirements are in place so people can't take advantage of a situation or take advantage of somebody else, but there are still ways to cut those rules in half and still achieve the same result or better. And it's not difficult if we know how. So those are some ways that we can make it better. All right, this has been Justin. I hope you enjoyed this video for today. You rock. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.
There's so many ways to be happy.